today is the freedom in you getting clarity with your finances and getting to a place where you feel confident and clear and not allowing your financial situation to have a chokehold on you that keeps you stuck and hidden and frozen to where you're not actually making any progress. I'm Jashika Ma'at. If you are new to me, I'm a financial coach and the founder of Jama Wealth Financial. And my goal is to help you keep more cash in your pocket so you can position it to wealth and create a life of freedom and ease. And so this particular topic, like I said, and how you can create more freedom by simply speaking truth to power, speaking things into existence. There's a saying that goes, nobody can tell your business or your secrets if you own it and tell it yourself, right? And I want to share about me, like when I was going through my financial journey, and I was at the point where, I was making 100,000, 125,000, 150,000, like my salary kept increasing, but the secret behind it all was like, yeah, I was making all this good money. And on the outside, to everybody else, it looked like, oh, she's successful. She got a good job, good salary, got the house, the car, all the things on paper. Yes, it looked like I was successful. But what people didn't see was that behind closed doors, I had 6 figures of debt. I had a rising credit card debt, car loan, all the things. So yeah, while the salary looked good on paper, behind closed doors, it told a different story. And so what I want to talk about is for you, like in your situation right now, and while yes, to everyone else, it might look like you're successful, I don't want you to be so kind of lost in the trying to keep up with the pretenses and losing out on having that freedom because you're so worried about what other people think or what you should look like or how you should show up because of your salary, right? And so the key thing here is that yes, having a high salary does come with some benefits. You're able to afford the things that you want to a certain degree, because obviously you need clarity over your finances. But at the same time, having that high income is not going to automatically give you the clarity that you need with how you want to move forward. Because right now you may be struggling with, yeah, you have that income, but you are in the cycle of credit card debt, right? You're able to pay off your credit cards, but you're still finding like every single time you're kind of in that, you pay down the car, but then it's racking itself right back up. And a lot of that comes from not having that clarity, right? And I find this too with a lot of the women that I work with. It's like this secret of like, ooh, I don't want anybody to know my business. I don't want anybody knowing, how much debt I have. And to that I say, even if it's not saying, like I said, not saying you need to show all your business to everyone else and go out on social media like I did and sharing my journey, but having a trusted friend, a trusted coach, someone who you're able to lighten that burden by just being open and being like, I got $50,000 in debt, or I got $100,000 in debt that I'm trying to work through. Like the freedom in being able to breathe and share, it opens you up to not feeling like you have to hold it all in by yourself, right? That fear of not sharing is this feeling of like, you feel like you're behind, or maybe you feel like because you have all this debt that you're irresponsible. And it's not the case. A lot of the debt that you probably have is from what? Student loans, right? You've gotten the student loans. And so that was you being able to invest in your education, which allowed you more than likely to have the successful job and career that you have right now, right? So having that debt is not a part of being irresponsible. It's a part of you investing in yourself and creating opportunities for you to be able to make money. But the thing is, now that you have that income, it's like, all right, what do we do with it now? Right. And so the main thing too is, I guess I want to say this, like what if the one thing that you're scared to say out loud, right, is the very thing that's going to set you free? I challenge you, drop in the comments, let me know, how much debt do you have? Without any, just drop it like, I owe $50,000 in debt, $100,000 in debt, right? Just being freedom and just sharing that number out loud. And here's the thing, if you don't know how much money you have in debts, here's a chance for you to get clear and get real with yourself and your finances and write it down. Have an understanding of what's happening, because the moment you get clarity is when you are able to then take control to move forward. And I want to say too, like, if you don't have that clarity, again, I always drop in the description, my financial clarity checklist is really going to walk you through 4 simple steps on how you can actually move from that overwhelm to getting more clarity and understanding your income, understanding your net worth, understanding what are the key areas within your money that's keeping you stuck, and how you can actually move forward with that, right? And another thing too is, how about looking at your finances as a way for you to tell the truth about your finances? Not that you're oversharing, but having that leadership and owning where you are in life, right? Because once you take ownership of that and you move away from the fear of having to feel like you need to have it all together, then you can move forward. And I can tell you, for me, it was definitely one of those moments, because sharing on Instagram is where I started, like, hey, I have 100, and something $1,000 worth of debt. And my family was seeing this, friends were seeing this. And it's like, ooh, in the beginning, it's kind of like, ooh, should I be sharing all this information? But what I found through that process, honestly, were people being like, oh, it gave them more freedom to be honest about their numbers and what was going on in their financial situation, right? Me sharing my journey spoke truth to power and empowered other people, right? And so when you share your numbers, right, you're taking your power back too. You're taking your power back from not having it keep you stuck in a chokehold, like you're doing something wrong or you're being irresponsible when you're not, right? So if you can think about it in that way of, all right, I'm getting honest with my financial situation. I'm getting honest with what I need to do. I'm getting honest with my habits and behaviors. I'm getting honest with what do I need to do to actually see progress and move forward. Avoiding your money, avoiding what's really happening, is you essentially, you're making a decision. Avoidance is you making a decision, and it's a decision out of fear, and that is ultimately what's keeping you stuck. Like, I really want you to think about that. And so I want you to go to this place too of, imagine being in a space where, you're not pretending, you're not acting like you have it all together. Like, yes, you make a good salary, and on paper you look successful. But imagine going to a family member and being like, look, yes, I make this good money, but I'm actually trying to work on paying off this debt. I have a lot of debt that I need to get through. And that's something that I actually did with a family member who I was kind of supporting. And I basically said, hey, I won't be able to support as much because I'm trying to get rid of this debt. And that conversation, again, spoke truth to power, and that I was able to open it up instead of pretending that I had everything together, and that when family needed help, that I was always going to chip in. That freedom of being able to be like, you know what, I don't got it, and being okay with that. Because I know a lot of times you'll have this almost obligation of like, well, I'm the one in my family making a lot of money, especially if you're from immigrant background and you have immigrant family. I know it's customary where you're sending money back to family members back home, right? Because they're like, oh, you're in America now, you're making money. And while, yes, you're making more money than, most of your family had ever had, that responsibility, right? That black tax of, okay, I got to go now that I've made it, I have to go back and help family. And I'm not saying you can't help them, but being open with the reality of your situation, right? Not having this silent obligation of, okay, I got it, or I got it, so I have to help, or they've helped me get to this point, so I need to help. It's like, okay, let's be responsible of owning our power, owning where we are with our finances, and sharing that, right? And I want to say that again. It's not that you're irresponsible with the situation that you're in, again, because it's probably student loan and things like that, but the irresponsibility of pretending that you have it all together, pretending that you have it all figured out, even when you're dying inside and you're just looking for a break and you just think that all you need to do is keep hustling and working, and it's just wearing you down. Like, that's the thing that I want to really highlight, is that so many women are out here like just working themselves to the bone, hustling and trying to do things harder and harder, when it's like the freedom comes in being open about what's really happening with your finances, getting that clarity, moving forward on that journey to where you understand what's going on, and then you're making a plan to move forward. But again, being free about it. Don't be shackled and stuck in a place where you're, again, pretending, you know? And also understanding that asking for help doesn't mean that you're failing, right? Part of you asking for help is you deciding that I'm going to get the support that I need so that I can continue to thrive. And by me thriving, I'm able to then support the people that are important to me. Like, really think about that. What if you thought about it like that? Me thriving is allowing me to be able to continue to support the people that are important to me. I'm no longer going to be the crabs in a barrel where I'm, holding on for dear life, and I'm continuing to work harder and myself to the bone. And, people continuing to take money from me when I really don't have it to give. Like, put yourself in a position of power. So this message really is for you. If you're tired of carrying this alone, you're tired of being in that space where you're just trying to hold it all together and you feel like you're about to you're like one step away from losing it. And I don't want that, because I've seen women who are just doing everything they can. They're trying to, manage the household, manage the kids, manage the job, be the leader at work, do all these things. And they're putting themselves last. And at the same time, they themselves are disintegrating because they're trying to hold up these pretenses of, I got it, and, I can support X, Y, and Z, when at the end of the day, they really don't have it, because they're overstretched. They're stretched thin because they're overcommitting to everyone and everything without first prioritizing themselves. And it just reminded me, because when I was in corporate too, and I feel like I got to that point where I was like, so focused on my kids, things were happening with them, my husband, work, all these things. I remember being so like overwhelmed and so just frustrated. Like, I literally had like a moment where I was just like, okay, that's it. I'm taking a whole month off of work. I literally took a whole month off of work just to go to the beach and take time to myself, because I was so burnt out of trying to do everything for everyone. And it was such a moment for me where it was like, oh, wow, just to be able to prioritize me and to not worry about, what everybody else needs from me, right? Speaking truth to power. I keep saying that, but it's like you're speaking truth to power of where you are really, that you're burnt out, that you're kind of hanging on by a thread, because you're thinking like, oh, yeah, I want to help everyone, and I want to also be able to reach my financial goals. You gotta prioritize yourself. You have to focus on how you can be more clear with your finances so that you can actually move forward and live that life, right? And I always say this, it is truly beyond the numbers. When I coach women, it's beyond the numbers, because a lot of what I'm seeing, yes, the numbers are important, but it's all those internal beliefs, the habits, the behaviors, and all that we have to work through for you to have more clarity as to what's happening and directing a path for you to be able to live with more freedom and ease. But you got to prioritize yourself. You got to focus on how you can show up authentically as you without having that success on paper, but you're dying inside, right? So drop in the comments and let me know, what your thoughts are. And if this is something that for you yourself are trying to work through. And you deserve to feel light again. You deserve to feel like you don't have to be in this hustle mode all the time. You deserve to be able to rest. Like at the end of the day, that's what having your money do for you. Positioning your income in a way where you have more options, you have more freedom and ease to be able to rest and not be so focused on, I gotta hustle for this money. I gotta hustle. Because like that, think about it, like that energy of like hustling, it's exhausting even just thinking about it. But how can you move and get to a place where you are moving with ease and flow, where you are attracting energy, right? You're not forcing, you're not proving, but you are attracting the energy that allows you to have that freedom and flow. And having a clear plan for your finances can do that for you. So drop in the comments, let me know, what is one area of your life right now that you feel is impacting how you're showing up with money? And what is it that you feel that you want to work on to start moving with more intention and having more freedom and ease? I'd love to hear your thoughts. So this is it for today's Wednesday live, and I will be back next week, Wednesday, with another live. And if there's any topics that you want to know about, like drop them in the comments, let me know. I do like to have the live demos, one that I did a couple weeks ago, which y'all really liked. So if that's something that you like and you want more of, let me know, and I'll be able to create more content like that. So thanks again for tuning in, and until my next video, here's to your financial freedom.